Good morning. My name is Altamirano. I am a teacher, trainer, and author. And today I would like to talk a little bit about practical approaches to embedding communicative language teaching in the English language classroom. The world around us is dynamic, and our teaching methods should reflect that. Textbooks, while they are valuable resources, can limit students' ability to use English for genuine communication. Nowadays, effective communication is key. Therefore, it's crucial for English language instruction to extend beyond the limitations of the text. Communicative language teaching offers a path to authentic language use, and it empowers students to communicate meaningfully in real-world contexts. In this concise presentation, I will touch upon the concept of communicative language teaching and its importance in English as a second language and English as a foreign language instruction. Then I will highlight the limitations of traditional textbook-based instruction and the need to shift the focus from grammar to communication. I will then delve into practical approaches to embedding communicative language teaching into the English language classroom and promoting authentic language use, reducing the focus on grammar rules. And finally, I will give a few hints of the challenges that teachers face and how to support them in the implementation of communicative language teaching. So, one of the most common challenges faced by language learners is the overwhelming focus on grammar in traditional language classrooms. While grammar is undoubtedly important for building a strong foundation, it should not be the sole focus of language learning. In fact, research has shown that shifting the focus from grammar to communication can greatly improve the student's ability to use language effectively and confidently. So, why should we shift our focus in the language classroom? And the answer lies in understanding the purpose of learning a language. The ultimate goal for any learner is to be able to communicate fluently and accurately in real-life situations. This means that they should be able to understand and express themselves in different contexts, whether it's having a conversation with a native speaker or with a non-native speaker, or writing an email for work, or sending a letter to an editor. Simply memorizing rules and forms of grammar does not necessarily lead to successful communication. So, let's have a look at the main principles, very, very briefly, of course, at the main principles of communicative language teaching. So, communicative language teaching emphasizes using authentic, meaningful activities that simulate real-life interactions. This approach focuses on developing learners' ability to communicate effectively in real-life situations. The main goal of communicative language teaching is to enable learners to use language fluently and proficiently for meaningful communication, rather than just mastering grammatical rules and vocabulary. This approach views language not only as a system of rules, but also as a tool for achieving communicative goals, and emphasizes the importance of using language in context, with an emphasis on meaningful interaction between students or between the speakers. One key aspect is the focus on developing the learner's speaking skills through interactive activities that require students to use language creatively and spontaneously, so that they are able to practice their speaking skills in realistic situations and develop their confidence in using the target language. In addition, Communicative language teaching emphasizes the importance of fluency over accuracy. Unlike traditional methods that focus heavily on correcting every mistake made by students, communicative language teaching recognizes that making mistakes is a natural part of the learning process. Instead of being discouraged from speaking due to fear of making mistakes, this approach encourages learners to focus on conveying meaning rather than striving for grammatical perfection at all times. Another important element of communicative language teaching is the emphasis on authentic materials and tasks. This means using materials that reflect real-world contexts and tasks that are relevant to the students' lives outside the language classroom. It also places value on learner autonomy. Rather than being passive recipients of knowledge from the teacher or from the textbook, students should be taking an active role in their own learning process. Communicative language teaching also promotes student-centered learning instead of teacher-centered instruction. In this approach, the teachers act as facilitators rather than as the sole source of knowledge. Students, as I said before, are encouraged to take an active role in their learning process by collaborating with their peers and actively participating in classroom activities. This not only increases student engagement, but also fosters a sense of autonomy and responsibility towards their own learning. In addition to these key principles, communicative language teaching also promotes cultural awareness and sensitivity by exposing learners to different cultures through authentic materials and tasks. And this not only helps students develop their language skills, but also fosters intercultural understanding and communication. Traditionally, textbooks have been viewed as the primary source of information and instruction in language classrooms, and they often follow a predetermined curriculum and provide students with structured exercises to practice grammar and vocabulary. However, this approach can limit creativity and engagement in the classroom, and this can lead to disinterest and disengagement from the students. In recent years, the role of textbooks has evolved from being the sole source of instruction in language classrooms to becoming a valuable resource that can enhance communicative language teaching-based methods. This means incorporating more communicative language teaching techniques in the classroom while also using the textbook as a valuable tool for language learning. By incorporating student-centered activities, real-life tasks, critical thinking skills, and technology, wherever possible, into lessons while using the textbook as a tool for reference and practice, we can create a dynamic and effective learning environment for our students. Instead of following the textbook's prescribed order, we can select relevant materials from different units that align with our lesson objectives and encourage students to use them in interactive ways. For example, instead of simply reading through a dialogue or a text exercise from the textbook, we can ask students to role play using the same dialogue, but with different scenarios or with different characters. This will not only allow for creative expression, but also reinforces the understanding of grammar rules and vocabulary usage in different contexts. Moreover, textbooks often focus on individual tasks or exercises which may not reflect real-life situations where communication happens naturally in authentic contexts. So to bridge this gap, we can supplement textbook activities with real-life tasks. For example, creating surveys, conducting interviews, where students must apply their language skills to gather information from their peers. Another way to reimagine the role of textbooks is by encouraging critical thinking skills through analysis and discussion questions related to culturally relevant topics within each unit. So, by viewing textbooks as resources rather than rigid curricula, we can also incorporate technology more effectively using online resources such as videos, podcasts, or interactive games. Also, in traditional language teaching, grammar rules often take center stage. Students are bombarded with lists of verb conjugations and other grammatical structures to memorize and regurgitate. While it is important to have a sound understanding of grammar, constantly drilling these rules can hinder students' ability to use the language authentically. That's why it's essential to introduce techniques that reduce the focus on grammar rules and promote authentic language use. One effective technique is to incorporate communicative activities such as role plays, debates, or simulations that require students to use language skills in a meaningful way. Another approach is task-based learning. This involves giving students an authentic task or a project, for example, that requires them to use the target language for completion. Project-based learning takes this concept even further by allowing students to collaborate on long-term projects. Providing scaffolding can support students as they engage in these tasks. That is, gradually increasing the level of challenge and autonomy as they engage in the tasks. And of course, how can we do this? Well, there are some practical ways in which we can do this. Yes? For example, communicative activities that simulate real-life situations can include role plays, information gap, debates, discussions, and group projects. Authentic material such as newspaper articles, songs, films, podcasts can provide learners with an exposure to natural language use and cultural context. Also, error correction. Focusing on correcting errors that interfere with effective communication is the key, rather than pointing out every single mistake a student makes. And this will allow for a more natural flow of conversation. And collaborative learning promotes active participation by having students work together towards a common goal or a common task. For example, in discussions, debates, and negotiations. Of course, there are challenges. One of the main challenges is the shift from grammar rules to meaningful communication. Yes, this can be difficult for both teachers and students to break away from. Another challenge is finding suitable materials for the lessons. And well, we have many resources at hand now, but it can be difficult sometimes, or teachers can think it's difficult. Class size also poses challenges because large classes make it harder for students to actively participate in the activities. And there might be resistance to change both from teachers and from students. So what can we do? A change of mindset is in place. So this may take time. We can incorporate gradually communicative language teaching gradually in the lessons rather than making a sudden shift. We will need to be creative in finding materials that align with communicative principles. The internet is a fantastic source of materials. We also need to create a safe environment for the students to believe that they can make mistakes even when they are speaking or doing a task, because that's a way of learning. Establish clear expectations from the beginning. This can include guidelines for behavior, participation, and communication. Provide clear structures and routines so that students know what to expect during each lesson. And planning is also important. One way in which we can support teachers in the implementation is through workshops or training sessions, mentoring. All this can be conducted by experienced language teachers or experts in methodology. Furthermore, teachers can plan collaboratively. Schools can invest in collaborative planning time for teachers so that they can work together and they share the load of work. Professional development opportunities such as conferences, seminars, webinars, and courses can benefit teachers immensely. Networking with like-minded teachers and also peer observation, incorporating peer observation in teacher evaluation. So this is crucial. Supporting teachers in implementation is crucial for the successful integration of this approach in English language classrooms. Providing teachers with professional development opportunities and collaborative support will not only benefit the teachers, but also lead to improved learning outcomes. So I hope this very brief presentation has been useful, and of course I am ready. Thank you very much. I am ready to answer your questions whenever you decide. This is how you can find me on social media, my email address also. So thank you very much. Thank you to the university and the authorities for organizing this event, and I am ready to answer questions whenever you choose. Thank you very much.